relationship is not built by your, cargo, right? Your level of work you're doing. It's built by talking to people, understanding them understanding you. That is very important. In Brazil, people will give excuses to say no. They don't say no directly. When you are an American, you have a certain set of expectation that things will be done, faster in 24 hours. That doesn't happen in Brazil. So you have to basically set your expectation based on the, people and the country you're working with, right? Once you set those expectations correctly, and you have to set those expectations to your boss, foreign boss as well, right? Someone in the US is asking you, hey, why is this thing is not getting done in 24 hours? You're there, why can't you get it? So you have to set those expectations as well that, hey, you need to understand that to get this thing done, it's not like I'm in the US. I'm in a different country. They have different set of cultures. You need to make, there's called a thing called um, alignamento. You have to
Yeah.
align with a lot of people, right?
I am Marcele Bottini and welcome you to How to Do Business in Brazil podcast. We'll be sharing stories and successful experience from CEOs, directors, diplomats, and workers in Brazil. We will discover their tips and strategies so that you and your venture can be successful too.
First of all, I would like to ask it, why did you choose Brazil?
The reason I chose Brazil because our when I was working for this global company, they had a big project coming in, and they wanted someone with my skill set to run that program. And so that's the whole purpose. It was not that I chose it, but it was my duty for the company to execute this entire program, for which it was necessary for someone to move from US to Brazil.
And how did you feel when you realized you were going to move to Brazil? How was your first feelings about that?
Uh, I had little knowledge about Brazil. I knew a lot about Mexico because, growing up in Texas, you get to know Mexico because it's a border country, right? About Brazil, I knew that the city I'm going, Rio de Janeiro, is a very beautiful city. It has the Cristo Redentor, you know. So I knew that it's a very beautiful city. It's a tourist location, but and I also knew that they don't speak Spanish. They speak Portuguese, but that experience was a hard experience because I thought that with my basic knowledge of Spanish, I should be able to communicate, but it was totally a different language. So, and I also knew that Brazil was big in soccer because we started playing soccer. Means U.S. became a little bit more, I would say, open to soccer, especially the women's soccer. So, and I knew Brazil, had a very good, big, and a very good soccer team.
And what was your job in Brazil?
So I was managing a big client in Brazil, one of the big banks, and I was running a big transformation program for that bank, which
Mhm.
was a big program, and I was managing almost 200 people between Brazil, US, and India for this whole program.
Mhm. And so what worked and what didn't work in your project in Brazil?
The first challenge, was bringing all these different cultures together, right? We had Americans, we had Brazilians, we had Indians, right, in the project. So bringing that whole all together sometimes was a little bit challenging. So what I started understanding, because we Americans are very comfortable working with offshore India, right? So we know how they work, but for us, it was a different situation when we were working with South America, especially Brazil in this case. So first, I had to understand the culture, how people think, right? How people work, how it works out, and then bringing all these different cultures together so that there were challenges. I didn't speak Portuguese. I had to use a translator. I started taking classes, as you know, but I had to use a translator, and sometimes things get lost into translation, which kind of motivated me to learn the language because the biggest challenge was me talking in English. Someone just translating it in Portuguese, and then someone talking Portuguese, and then I was basically seeing that I am not connecting with the people. I'm connecting them maybe in the head, but not in the heart. So that's why I started talking. I mean, means I still until now my Portuguese is not great, but I started talking even if I was speaking wrong. But I was seeing the appreciation coming in that hey, this guy is trying to speak my language. So being a foreigner, right? He's trying to speak my language. So I felt that appreciation that I was able to get from my clients, from my teammates, from my Brazilian teammates. Uh, so that is very important because our program was a very complicated program. I wanted to make sure that our team is working together as a team and not being divided, within a team, right? So that was the biggest challenge I had to overcome. And once I was able to overcome that challenge, it became really very easy. Means I still I still am connected with my team. I made a lot of friends out there in Brazil. I'm still connected with my team in India. Of course, I'm connected with my American, colleagues and ex-colleagues in the U.S. So understanding the culture, understanding the language, understanding how it works, you know, was very important because as Americans, I have seen that, sometimes, we do a lunch meeting where we are just having sandwiches and talking, right? But in Brazil, almoço is a very important thing, right? You talk about, you build relationship during that. You go out, spend 1 hour having a lunch, then have some coffee, right? After the lunch, right? And then that's where you build a relationship. And the relationship is not built by your cargo, right? Your level of work you're doing. It's built by talking to people, understanding them understanding you. That is very important.
It's so beautiful, especially when you describe like the importance of being connected to their heart, as in the way to communicate with them. It's so beautiful, this realization. And you have a Brazilian kid now and a Brazilian wife.
Yeah, two
Um,
kids, two
yeah,
Brazilian,
two
half Brazilian
kids.
kids.
Yeah. Once I hear American girl that her mom was from China, she told me that her mom told her that everybody, all Americans or all English or all Australians, expected people to be able to speak English, and nobody's grateful when realize other people speaks their language. They just expected that in some ways. And like
Right.
if you go to Brazil, for example, if you just speak few Portuguese, everybody will be so grateful for you.
Hmm.
And so what you say, it's beautiful as well. Like you are grateful for people start to speak in your language. It's such a beautiful realization.
Yeah, we Americans are a little bit chatos.
Yeah.
That's my wife tells me.
It's easy, right? It's easy. Everybody speaks English. And yes,
Yeah.
the word speaks English, but it's not everybody. So what were your goals before you come to Brazil? And have you achieved these goals?
Yeah, so one of my goals was to make the program successful for my company, right? So
Mhm.
the program ran for 3 years. It was very successful. It made our client one of the top banks in Brazil, right? The other thing I wanted to be achieve for my own personal growth is to understand the culture, make a lot of connections, learn the language, right? because this kind of experience, when you go back to your own country, people are looking for people who don't have those kind of global experience, executives who have those kind of global experience, because everyone knows technology or everyone knows business. Not everyone, but but understanding different cultures, understanding different, working in different countries, having that experience is really it really helps in your career. So it has, I would say it has helped me in my career as well, right? And I have made so many friends. I can go to any South American country, and I can just call in advance and tell, hey man, I'm coming. And it can be Colombia, it can be Chile, it can be Argentina, Brazil, and they will say, hey, let me know when you're coming and I'll pick you up from the airport. That to me, you know is really, I'm deeply humbled because of this, and it helped me in my career as well, right? I can be on a client call and speak Portuguese with the client, right? uh, or I can be on a client call and speak Portuñol with the Spanish speaking country. Like, we got partners in Chile, we got our company right now. Asia is the company I work for. We are trying to build a whole partnership model in South America.
Yeah,
And they trust me because I speak the languages, right? Even though I'm a foreigner to them, I speak the languages, so that foreigner feeling is out, right? This guy is like us, right? And he speaks our language. He can express. He can understand what I'm trying to say. He can understand. So that was I was able to connect with the heart, right?
it's amazing. And just it's like at the end, this is how it works in South America and what South America can teach for us. It's like things does not work well in South America in some ways. Like
Right.
we don't have like some kind of process that people just follow. In some ways, like we always doing things again and again and again, the same thing. But this is because the country does not work well in some ways. So at the end, if something does not work well, you're going to need people to help you to solve that. It's not
Yeah.
contracts. It's not like no, it's people. And because of that, like relationships, it's so important here as well as a part
Right.
of the
Absolutely.
business.
Absolutely. Relationship is very important in any country. It's just not South
Yeah,
America. It's any country. It's very important to have the relationship because end of the day, it's two people working together, two or more people working together and making things possible, right?
yeah,
If these people have the good relationship, then it's much easier to get things done.
yeah, sure. So, what the type of people did you most interact in Brazil on your daily work? Like, was like, for example, was CEOs or was Brazilians? What like foreigners? What is the most of people?
Yeah, so our company, since it's an international company, we got some foreigners, including myself, working in Brazil. But on a day-to-day basis, I would say I was working mostly with Brazilians. We got three or four people, Indian people working in Brazil, so I was interacting with them. I was all and the client side, it was mostly VPs and directors, and that I was interacting, and I also met a couple of CIOs of other companies outside the bank, right? Because I was responsible just not for delivering this whole program, but create a practice of digital automation for our company, my ex company, in South America.
Mhm, great. And what did you find most difficult about working in Brazil or working with Brazilians?
Uh, I would say it was difficult. It was that sometimes when you are an American, you have a certain set of expectation that things will be done faster in 24 hours. That doesn't happen in Brazil. So you have to basically set your expectation based on the people and the country you're working with, right? Once you set those expectations correctly, and you have to set those expectations to your boss, foreign boss as well, right? Someone in the US is asking you, hey, why is this thing is not getting done in 24 hours? You're there, why can't you get it? So you have to set those expectations as well that, hey, You need to understand that to get this thing done, it's not like I'm in the US. I'm in a different country. They have different set of cultures. You need to make, there's called a thing called um, alignamento. You have to
Yeah.
align with a lot of people, right? Because the other thing I noticed that Brazilians are also, sometimes they take it personal. If, for example, I don't tell someone, which I think it's not necessary for that person to know that particular thing, and he or she comes to know about it, and they say, "Oh, Jordan, tell me about that. That is so bad." Then I have to go and explain, "Hey, you are. It's not that I'm ignoring you. I didn't tell you because I don't want to give you a lot of information that is not necessary for you to do your job right." But again, so I have to basically redial myself and say, hey, maybe this is not important for this person, but still, since she's part of the team, also share the information with her. So, uh, yeah, Brazilian people can get a little bit sentimental. I know
Yeah.
my wife is Brazilian, right? So, and so so for me, if someone doesn't give me the information that I know don't need, right? I don't care because it's less information for me. I don't care. I say, oh yeah, totally okay. If he or she needs me, he will give me a call or let me know. But I don't have to know everything. So, but
Yeah.
it's different in Brazil.
It's a very nice realization. I hear a English guy that was working for the Olympics in Brazil. He say like, I'm live in Brazil and I get, like I understand it how things works here, but it's so hard to explain that to my boss because he's not here. He don't know how things works here. Even if I try to explain, they they will never understand it. You know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how like you already explained a little bit, but how did you deal? How did you deal with that? Like how what you needed to really understand it people and like what you needed to make people understand it you and like making your boss to understand it that how it was for you.
So one of the things I would say, right, which I learned from my mistakes, right, when I felt that this thing that I did, was not great. I have pushed I have pushed things that shouldn't have been pushed. So what I did, I took a step back, right? Step back, analyze the situation, and see what's the best way for me to solve the situation. That was I would say my style of working to help. It may not be the best style, but it worked for me, right? Step back, think about the situation, try to figure out how it works, and then uh, try to go back and fix what you did, right? And the way I was able to explain to my boss, I told them that, hey, I am responsible. You want the results, right? In that period, let me get to the results. I will keep you posted, and don't tell me what to do. I know what to do because I'm right here in the trenches. So I can do that. So that was my way. And also, I had some French bosses as well, because my ex company was headquartered in France. And French culture is also Latin culture, right? So they figured out, oh, I understand. It's similar with the Portuguese culture, right? So yeah, Latin. So, but anyway, but at the same time, I saw, some of my foreigners, I also foreigner friends were working, they got frustrated. And I told them, man, you need to take a step back and you need to put yourself in their shoes because, when you are in Rome, be a Roman. Don't be an American or an Australian or wherever you are, right? Be a Roman.
Yeah.
So when you are in Brazil, think like a Brazilian.
Yeah, and you really did that actually. Yeah.
I had
Say,
to
yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes when I look to you and you even look at Brazilian at the end, and your way to dress when you are not working. It was very
Yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah.
So, what is the best thing about working in Brazil or working with Brazilians?
So I think Brazil has a lot of talented people, and you know, and what leaders in Brazil should do is basically take the talent and help the talent to grow, right? They have to think more. If they think more about the people and the talent and how they can grow the talent, the leaders themselves will be successful because they will be able to do a lot of business. Means a lot of they will able to be successful, work, because end of the day, right, the leaders are not the person who is alone doing the work. The team is doing the work. Unless you have a very happy and motivated team, right, you won't be successful. So one of the things I always try to tell my team, and because Brazil also has a very very bureaucratic, you know uh, kind of you know uh, kind of culture, right? So if someone is a vice president or a director, that means that person is, you cannot go and talk with him unless you talk with someone below him. It's a very bureaucratic. So one of the things I told my team, I was a director when I was there, right? Say, hey, I may be a director in the company, but you are my team and I'm a leader. So my doors are always open. I used to open my door in my room where they gave me a room, right? So my door was always open and anyone can come in and talk to me. If I'm busy, I'll tell them, hey, I'm busy, but come back in half an hour. If you have an issue, and if you have something that's very important that you need to talk right now, I'll close my computer and talk to you. It's that was something I think my American, attitude or my experience helped me, because in the States we have a very, it's a very matrix kind of structure, right? Um, and it's very open. It's not very bureaucratic, right? So everybody, even CEO of a company, is accessible, right? So I think that helped me. That I would say my American culture, helped me to tell people, and people started, means people started getting comfortable with me. They will invite me in happy hour. I say, John may be a director, but he's like us, right? One of us. So I used to go to happy hour with them. They used to celebrate my birthday. Brazilian birthday celebration is like, wow, oh, man, I've never heard this experience in my life, right? So that helped me, right, to open up that, I would say that, you know, uh, that bar between me being a foreigner, me being an executive, and the rest of my team. And even among my peers, when I spoke with directors and vice president, I was very direct, And sometimes it may have pissed someone off, but end of the day, they understood that I had the right intentions, right? And and they are still friends, which is like they're still, my team is still, I'm in touch with them. My peers, I'm still in touch with them, which is great. For me, it was these are all my contacts and connections, right? Means if I ask anyone, hey, I'm in Sao Paulo or I'm in Rio, do you want to have a beer? Unless they have some, of course, now right now with COVID-19, it's a little difficult, but unless they have any other commitment, prior commitment, they will say, yeah, let's have a beer together.
Yeah,
Right?
you are really great on creating great relationships with people. Like
Yeah,
you
I,
are
I
really
always
good on
believe
that.
in that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure whether I'm a good or bad, but I believe that it is the right way of, building a corporate culture.
yeah. It's amazing because the real role for the leader is helping to the team to collaborate with each other.
Yeah,
Because at
yeah,
the end, the leader does not do the most of work.
yes, correct,
So, like, if you
correct,
find a great way to they feel comfortable with you, so that you motivate them to work, to motivate
right.
them to be their best, it's great. It's great.
Yeah,
It's not
absolutely.
everybody who realizes that,
Yeah,
especially,
unfortunately. Unfortunately.
yeah, and especially when you're coming from a different country, and it's very easy to just see people there and think you know better than them, and then
Hmm.
that way things will never happen. Like you go to
Right,
think that they don't do on your way, they think that you don't understand anything because you're not from that country, so you create a lot of walls.
right, right, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Also, it's great. So, what's your favorite or most interesting story about working in Brazil?
Uh, I have so many stories. You know, uh, what's I would say my first day in Brazil when I landed, right, and I got a cab, and I was trying to speak Spanish with the cab driver, and he was like looking at me and said, "Yeah," and he said, "Man, where the hell this gringo came in from?" Right. So that was one of the funny story. Uh, I would tell you a very exciting story though. So we were a bunch of American friends of ours, Brazilian friends, Brazilian team members and friends, and Indian team members and friends. We were watching the Olympic final soccer game, right, in a bar in Botafogo. Uh, and Brazil was playing Germany. And if you remember, I think it was in 2000. This happened in 2016, but 2 years before in the World Cup, Germany beat Brazil 7-0, right? So it was a lot of
Don't
a
say
heat.
that to Brazilians. Don't remember that. It never exists.
And it was the same stadium, Maracana Stadium in Rio de Janeiro, right? We were not able to get a ticket because it's very expensive. So we were watching in the bar, and we saw that there were a couple of German guys who were watching that game. And when Brazil was beating Germany, we were all shouting, all the Americans, Brazilians, Indian people for Brazil. And the Germans were looking at us and say, "Holy shit!" They left the bar, and we made a like a shouting and jumping and dancing. It was awesome. That is one of the best moments I have. That one, and then the other thing I remember, when the Rio Olympics started, right? I went to the opening ceremony with my friends, and we were there were so many Americans we enjoyed. Yeah, means Americans not just from my company, but all over the United States. We had like 400 people coming in, and we were so excited when Michael Phelps, right? He took our flag and started when US was going in. So that was a very proud moment for me, being an American sitting in Rio de Janeiro, supporting my country's team members. So I think those are the three, I would say three, those three, one was very embarrassing, but the other two was very, very nice stories, right?
Yeah, that really tells what it's the American soul is. Oh, sorry, Brazilian soul is. It's nice. Uh, so, for you, what situation could only happen while in working in Brazil?
What situation?
Yeah.
You may learn to dance samba, right? And
Did
the
you
other
learn?
situation, yeah, the other situation that can only happen in Brazil, if you're single, you may find your love and get married and have kids.
Oh, with a beautiful Brazilian woman as your wife, right?
Yes, yeah, I would say, right, I'm blessed to have my family, my wife and my kids and my in-laws, my friends in Brazil. It's a blessing.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. We talked about that before, like when you met her, like how it's great the combination between Brazilians and American. It's a great match.
Yes, but she is also happy. Now we got the kids. She complains a little bit now because she is living in, USA, right? The challenge living in USA, we don't have like the families all together where, all Saturdays and Sundays we have the churrascaria. Means we arrived in Brazil last Saturday, and my in-law was, Sunday, we had a churrascaria.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh wow. Well, good
so my
welcome.
yeah, so and beer, talking to people, meeting all these people, right? Means my wife always tells me, "Oh," and I have a lot of friends in Dallas, Texas, right? My uncle lives in Florida now. He moved from Dallas to Florida. But I have a lot of friends. But the friends are also busy. They have kids, right? Saturday, Sundays, they have to take care of the home, right? Take care of things. So it's difficult, to have those kind of things in the U.S., right? Um, unless there is something, once a year, like the Thanksgiving holidays, we all get together. This year Thanksgiving, we get together. We got together with my uncle. I have other friends whose wife is Brazilian as well, so they came in. So in the U.S., we got a lot of American friends. I have two friends. One has a wife who is from Recife. The other one, his wife is from Curitiba.
Mm,
So they're all Americans, so we all get together sometimes. One of them has a small kid as my son, so we all sometimes in a family gathering we do the kids play, So my wife also gets a chance to, interact with Brazilian people, right? So it's very important for us to be close to her culture.
of course, yes, it's always good. And the what do you find the most interesting about Brazilian culture?
I think the Brazilian culture and overall South American culture is a very warm culture. They're very friendly, always ready to help, right? Always have the extra mile, to go and help people, whenever they need help, right? They understand that, sometimes it's difficult for foreigners, and they're very warm. I think it's a Latin American culture, right? So I think that helps. Uh, very warm culture, very friendly culture, right? Um, if you need a help, I remember, I used to need so many help, and my translator used to help me so much. Even buying like a moisturizer, I didn't know the moisturizer was called hidratante at that point. So,
Oh
hey,
yeah.
and now like I go to a shop and I need to buy, and I'm looking for a moisturizer, and I'm totally lost. So I got so much help, even at personal level, right? It's unbelievable. I cannot, means of course, I get help from my American friends, but if I meet a stranger in the U.S., right, that person may or may not be. I'm from Texas, and South is a little bit more friendly, but if you go to New York or something, right, people won't even care, right? The people are so busy out there, right?
Yeah.
Which is this culture is so friendly. It's so warm. It's so warm culture. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Yes. And they really like to help each other. It's very good.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um,
And the what was the most challenging part of working in Brazil?
that's a great question. The challenging part for me was, one was, I would say the language first was the most challenging piece, which I had to overcome. Right, that was the most challenging piece, because if you say, for example, if you're an American trying to go and work in the Europe, right, it's not a big problem. English, they speak, most of them speak English, right? Most of the European countries, all of the European countries speak English. Even if you go to Portugal, right, they speak English. Spain, they speak English. But in Brazil, and I was in Rio de Janeiro, right, which is not a very high English speaking town, right, or city. So for me, the language was the most biggest challenge. Yeah. And also the next challenge was, the bureaucracy, right? The bureaucracy that was there. So those were some of the two challenges for me, um, working in Brazil. The rest of this was pretty awesome. But anyway, overall, my experience is very awesome. So I have no complaints. Everywhere there is a
Yeah.
challenge. If you go to work in the U.S., you will see challenges as well, right? Means there are different cultures. There are different kind of people, right? Means people will tell you no right in the face. And you cannot be hurt, because that's not he's trying to ignore you. He's just saying that he cannot do it. In Brazil, people will give excuses to say no. They don't say no directly.
That's it. Yes.
But here, I'll tell you, it's now depending on whom I'm talking to, right? If I'm talking to a Brazilian, or another in Colombian or Chilean, or a Mexican, I will say a no in a different way. If I'm talking to a friend of my best friend of mine, right? No, no, man, I can't do it. And he's like, okay, cool, yeah, I totally understand. He gets it, right? So uh,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
it's how the
yeah.
cultures are.
Yeah, it's these things about saying no really drive both cultures crazy because like if your Brazilians invite you to go to their party and they say like I'm sorry, I cannot go, I'm busy. Brazilians will say it's rude, but you just
Yeah,
being honestly,
right. Yeah, they're rude.
Brazilian. Yeah, but what the Brazilian will say, it's like, I would love to go, but I can't. I will do my best to go even if they
Okay.
cannot, and for you guys it's like why they just say no,
Yeah,
why they
exactly.
just say they're
Yeah,
not
no, I can't do
available.
it. Because you can have some personal stuff, right? You can have your own work stuff, personal stuff. You cannot go. It means, it's of course,
Hmm.
for me, it's yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, so I have clients, I reached out to them and say, hey, man, do you guys have some time to talk, right? And they said, no, I don't have time this year, Joy. We have to wait for, and I'm fine. Okay, got it. Thank you. We'll touch base
Yeah,
next year, right?
yeah. So what if you hadn't had known before, would have made your life or your work easier in Brazil?
I would say, I had a wonderful time because I started at a zero, right? If I have known something in advance, I would have been biased. So it was better for me to have known nothing and come in and learn
Beautiful.
in the process.
Yeah, it's like a surprise, no
Yeah. It's just,
expectations.
yeah.
Great.
If you have seen the movie Forrest Gump, he's well, and in one scene he says, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you get.
Great. It's beautiful. Yes. It's very nice about you, Joy, because like when I see you work and really see a very professional guy, but you are so, I don't know how to say in a good way. I would in Portuguese I would say sensível, but it's not a
Mm,
good word in English, right? Right, sensitive.
hmm hmm
Like you are very empathic. You really feel people. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's my Texas charm. We Southern boys are very charming, right? We charm people.
Yeah,
We are the cowboys, right?
yeah, that's it. Cowboys, that's it. So, how do the Americans see Brazil?
The Americans, a lot of Americans know a lot about Brazil. As I said, right, I have American friends whose wives are Brazilian, right? I have American friends, so they know Brazil. Um, they really means people who doesn't have that knowledge, right? They think they know it's a very beautiful country, right? Especially some place like Rio de Janeiro. The girl from Ipanema song made Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, very famous in the United
Yeah,
States. So they know it's a very nice place, a nice beach, and people are nice. Food is awesome, right? So they know about those kind of things. Um, some people have a misconception, that here in Brazil people are lazy, especially people from Rio. They think they're lazy. I know within Brazil, people from other states think people from Rio are lazy, which is not correct. Uh, so I think they think that, oh, the Rio people, they go to the beach, they do surfing, they drink caprinas, and that's life. It's not that. People are working so hard. I've seen that. People have to, they have families, they have kids to to give education to the kids. And Brazil was going through a crisis when I was in Brazil, right? It was so, people were losing jobs, right? So to me, Brazilians are very hardworking people. I would say they are the same hardworking people as we Americans. They're very hardworking. It's a different culture, different way of working, but they're very hardworking. I've worked with my team. I've seen them work like midnight. Come in the office next day 9 o'clock, and sometimes I had to tell them, hey man, you need to take some rest. You need to go back to your family. You need to spend some time. You cannot keep on working like this. This is not human. right? And some people doesn't understand that kind of stuff, right? So I think there is some misconception out there, but people, when you have this book, right, and you go into social media, people will change their conception about this country, because I think Brazil has a lot of talented folks, talented people, men and women, and they can really, you know, means I don't want to go political about Brazil, but really this land is a land of opportunity for, and of course, with the COVID-19, 2020 was rough for everyone, even people in the United States were rough. We have 1 million Americans who lost jobs due to this COVID-19. And I know that this will change in 2021. Things will be better. God is watching on all of us, right? It's just not God bless America, God bless everyone. So things will be going in the right direction. And I think people who are really interested in investing in Brazil, this is a country they should really be serious about, um, in South America. I know people are investing a lot in China. They're investing a lot of India. They're not looking to Brazil the way they should be looking, because I think there is a talent out there. And political. Every country has their own political problems. So that's very important for people to understand. And me having lived in Brazil, going back to my home U.S., and I talk to people, I explain to them. So I'm also trying to share the knowledge that I have, and the messaging about the potential. Right, means as soon as I joined my new company, Asia, right, uh, I spoke with my CEO and say, "Hey, Brazil is a great opportunity. Let me work on it. Let me bring some business out there." And he said, "Yeah, absolutely, Joy. I support you 100%. I totally understand." He's a friend of mine, so he understands. But the other point is, I mean, so everyone should have that. Um, they can really use the resources here, the human resources. Of course, Brazil also has some very good mining resources, agriculture resources. But I'm an IT guy, right? For me, human resources is the most of is the people who are doing all the work in IT.
It's great. It's very nice. So, you already say something, but just to be more specific, in your opinion, what does the CEO or executive or a leader need to know to deal better with his team in Brazil?
Understand the culture, number one. Before you land into Brazil, try to do some research. Even go in YouTube and see some videos about the culture. Right,
Listen to
that's
this
very important.
podcast.
Whatever, yeah. Understand the culture. Right. Number two is try to learn the basics of the language. Right. You don't have to be an expert in Portuguese. Learn the basics. If you say a couple of words in Portuguese, like basic, like bom dia, obrigado, right, boa tarde, it helps, right? And try to third thing I want to say, and third thing is put yourself in the shoe of the person or the country you will be working on. Forget where you come from. Try to concentrate on the place that you will be working, or you'll try to you know grow the business. And I will say last, understand the people. It's very important.
It's great. I could ask you many other questions, and I spend like many more hours asking you for these things because, like, you really get, you really did great. Just to finish, I would like you to know if you can explain how how do you think people in Brazil perceive time and work versus like American?
So what's that? Can you please repeat the question, Marcelo?
Like in your opinion, like how would you describe the time in Brazil? Like how people perceive time in Brazil? Because
Perceive time in.
like one of the biggest complaint about Brazilians is that they're never on time. They don't follow schedule. You know, I would like to know your opinion about that. For you, like how it's the time it works in Brazil. Like how do you think people see time, or you didn't have any bad experience at all?
I think sometimes it's get a little bit stretchy, right? People will say Brazilian BST is Brazilian stretched time. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you're expecting a meeting to start at this time, right? But I think that is changing because of the COVID-19. I will say that will be changing, and meetings will start at the right time because the reason is, people are socializing so much, was socializing so much in Brazil, right? You, you go and talk to people, you go talk with colleagues, have a coffee, drink a coffee, talk about it, and then you forget that you got a meeting coming in, and you're delayed, right? But I think that is because there's a lot of interaction going on, people to people interaction, right? Which was actually helping the business because people, if you interact more, right? Sometimes meetings are just set up just for the sake of having meetings, right? Uh, they don't bring a lot of values unless it is really important, right? It means people are meeting just for let's just status update. That one person can do it with the other, with each of them. They just go and ask him, right, instead of bringing them all together. Uh, so I think with the COVID-19, Rao, since especially in the IT sector, right, even other sectors, overall sectors, right, people are working so remotely that people are very I would say they're very aware of the time and not delaying in coming into meetings and stuff, uh, because I'm having all these meetings with Brazilian people right now, and I never had a problem where I have to wait like half an hour to get someone on a call. They're just joining on the time. Maybe they're 5 minutes late because the other meeting was stretched, right? Means I joined this meeting like 2 minutes late, right? Because I just had a call with a customer and then I had to, but uh, same thing, right? So someone, is have so many meetings right now because we are all working remotely. We are having more meetings, right? I think that won't be a problem going forward. It was mostly because people are interacting more, which is a good thing, right? People interact more is always a good thing. It may be frustrating for foreigners coming in and say, "Hey, man, I just set up a call and people are not joining. It means people are not coming to my meeting and I'm waiting for them for 15 minutes." But the whole concept has changed. COVID-19 has done a lot of changes, from digital transformation standpoint, and one of them is having all this, this I would say virtual stuff. Means we do virtual, and I think same goes in Brazil as well. We do like virtual happy hour, so we all get on a camera, take our drinks, say cheers, and then drink and talk while we are all in like this, right? So, I think that's not going to be a problem going forward.
It's great. Joy, we needed to finish soon, but thank you so much. It was an amazing, amazing talk, and you teach me so much. Actually, I
It's
really
always a pleasure to
appreciate
talk to you, Marceli. I appreciate, you giving me an opportunity to talk about my experience, and hopefully this will help other people as well, like myself. You know,
it.
um, who wants to work and live in Brazil, be successful. I'm always there
It
to.
will.
I'm always happy to share the information.
I am Marcele Bottini and welcome you to How to Do Business in Brazil podcast. We'll be sharing stories and successful experience from CEOs, directors, diplomats, and workers in Brazil. We will discover their tips and strategies so that you and your venture can be successful too.